The House comes to questions for oral answer. Question number 1 in the name of Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he have confidence in his Minister for Building and Housing, given the nearly 8,000 shortfall in new houses in Auckland in the past year?
Mr Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, yes, I do have confidence in the Minister, and I think the member really should take a good look at the facts. Statistics New Zealand reported this week that almost 30,000 residential building consents were issued across New Zealand in the year to September. That's more than double what they were 5 years ago, and momentum is increasing. Of these, nearly 10,000 consents were in Auckland, which is almost 3 times the number just 5 years ago.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
What impact has the $273,000 increase in Mount Roskill house prices over the past 2 years had on young people there hoping to buy their own home?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, well, obviously for any first home buyer, a rise in house prices has some impact. But of course, the most substantial impact probably for those young people in Mount Roskill is one, that they are paying interest rates are at record lows. And so for someone borrowing $300,000, let alone potentially a bigger mortgage in Auckland, saves them thousands and thousands and thousands, I think 16,000 in the hand. Secondly, as we can see today from the very strong employment growth in New Zealand, the good people of Mount Roskill are probably finding it a lot easier to get a job. And thirdly, Mr Speaker, I think the good people of Mount Roskill probably saw last week that this is a country that's #1 now in terms of ease of doing business. We have some of the best economic stats in the OECD, and they've probably got a little bounce in their step. So the member might want to talk New Zealand down, but I don't think the people of Mount Roskill are.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Speaker, given QV says the median Mount Roskill house has increased in value by $2,300 each week for the last 2 years, how are young people meant to save for a deposit for their first home?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, there are a number of ways, of course, we do that. I mean, the first is that with a strong employment market, with very low interest rates, that certainly helps them. Secondly, KiwiSaver Home Start will, without doubt, help young people. And thirdly, if you look at the comprehensive plan that we've got, obviously what happens there, Mr Speaker, is that you are seeing an enormous construction boom now happening in Auckland. And in fact, if anything, the reason the member didn't ask a question on housing yesterday was because he knew himself actually starting to run out of puff on it.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Todd Barclay.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What reports has he received confirming employment growth in the construction sector, which is being driven by a building boom across much of New Zealand?
Mr Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, what an outstanding question. Well, as part of the latest Household Labour Force survey, Statistics New Zealand today reported that the number of people employed in the construction sector increased to a whopping 226,000 in September. That is 21,000 more construction jobs than 2 years ago and 55,000 more than 5 years ago, confirming the building sector is indeed booming. These extra construction jobs contributed to New Zealand's overall unemployment rate falling to 4.9% in September, the lowest level since December 2008. Across New Zealand, there are a total of 35,000 more jobs than just 3 months ago, and 3,000 fewer people unemployed over the past year. 144,000 more people are in work. Mr Speaker, what a day of great celebration for the government.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Why, under his government, are 80% of adults under 40 in Mount Roskill renters, with just 20% owning their own home? What is there to celebrate about that?
The Right Honourable Prime
Mr
Minister.
Speaker, I don't know the relative stats to what it was like 10 years ago, but I suspect it hasn't actually changed dramatically in that period of time. But Mr Speaker, What is true is that if you look at Mount Roskill, it's actually becoming there's no question, a wealthier electorate here in New Zealand or in Auckland. But Mr. Speaker, if you look at the massive construction boom that's now taking place in Auckland, as I said just a moment before, I won't bother repeating for the House, the huge number of extra people that are working in the construction sector. We have interest rates that are on a 60-year low, and we have very strong employment growth. The people of Mount Roskill and New Zealand are quite chipper about the outlook for New Zealand.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What measures has the Minister of Building and Housing overseen as part of the government's comprehensive plan to increase the number of houses being built?
Mr. Speaker.
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yet again another outstanding question. There have been many parts of the government's comprehensive housing plan. We've set up a $1 billion housing infrastructure fund. We've created over 200 special housing areas for around 70,000 new homes across the country. We've extended legislation to enable special housing areas to be created for another 3 years. We've expanded the KiwiSaver Home Start scheme for first home buyers. We've signed off on the National Policy Statement of Urban Development, and we're getting the Auckland Unitary Plan underway. Mr. Speaker, the plan was so comprehensive that yesterday the Labor Party gave up on housing because they can see the market stabilising and construction's booming in Auckland.
Supplementary.
Hey, we're back on it today. So
Order.
You're slow, John.
Order.
You're slow.
Order. Andrew Little, supplementary question.
The gates.
Talking of special housing areas, how many of the exactly 18 affordable homes that have been built in Auckland special housing areas are in Mount Roskill? And would he be surprised to know, actually, it's zero?
The Right Honourable
Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the member is asking a question that he says he knows the answer to, he's really wasting the House's time asking a question. But the reason he's asking the question is because his numbers are always so dodgy and proven to be incorrect. They're not 18 houses, Mr. Speaker. As of 2016 in Auckland, 1,300 homes have been completed in special housing areas, 2,200 building consents have been issued, 2,458 new sections have been created, and 7,170 new sections have been granted resource consent. Mr. Speaker, I go back to what I said earlier. The reason the Labor Party didn't ask yesterday because they've given up. They can see housing markets stabilise.
Yeah.
Supplementary.
Order.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order. And I can hear you as well. The Honourable Dr Nick Smith, supplementary question.
To the Prime Minister, is the Prime Minister aware that the Three Kings Quarry housing project would put 1,300 new homes in the Mount Roskill electorate, a large portion of which would be affordable, and that the lead opponent of these homes over the past 5 years has been the former chair of the local board, Mr. Michael Wood, the Labor candidate?
Speaker. Speaker.
Order. Order. It's question time, not a football match. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, or it could be because we're kicking all the goals. But, Mr. Speaker, I was aware of that, actually, Mr. Speaker. I was aware of that. And you know, I wouldn't expect anything different because it's the same Michael Wood who doesn't believe in dodgy deals, except he's done one with the Greens to get himself over the line. Or at least he wants to, but because his potential leader is so worried, he's offering $1.4 billion worth of light rail, which actually the former member of Mount Roskill doesn't even support.
We're moving into an area where there's no prime ministerial responsibility. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Sounds hysterical.
Getting back to matters of fact, Mr. Speaker, why? Oh, hurts. Why, after 8 years of his government, has the home ownership rate fallen to its lowest level in 65 years?
Well, Mr. Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, there are a number of factors of why home ownership rates around the world have been falling. But, Mr. Speaker, I think we can see by the construction numbers, we've seen the consent numbers and the employment numbers, how much construction is now taking place. We can see the elements of the plan are actually working not only in Auckland, but I think starting to work around New Zealand, Mr Speaker. And I'm confident that the housing markets will stabilise over time and more supply will be there.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
When is he going to stop dragging the chain and admit that Labor's plan to build 100,000 affordable homes for first home buyers is the only way to restore the Kiwi dream?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I suggest the people who believe that Labor are going to build 100,000 homes go there on the light rail that they believe are going to be delivered to Mount Roskill in the next 3 years.
Order. Order. Order.